Hey y'all, how y'all doing? All right, so let me tell y'all before I even get started. I definitely did not think I was gonna come on here and start my first day today. Like I did, but I was tired and I was like, nah, because y'all know I got to give y'all the randomness. Then I got all my stuff together and let me show y'all. I tried to print this bad boy, my notes that I took. Look how small this is. Look at the paper. It's supposed to be 2 pages. But I digress. So let's go ahead and get on this little mini lesson. Y'all know I'm always random. I'm always all over the place. But when I teach, I definitely rely on the notes that I create because I don't want to go too far too deep all over the world. I want to make sure I stay on a path. So this is day 1 of 30. And what I want to do is talk about spirituality. What I feel happens, and I have to say, me personally, is I feel that there's a lot of language unclarity, maybe. And I can't say it for everything. I can only say for me personally in my experience that I'm a very spiritual person. And when I see a lot of people talking and they're not coming from their own understanding. I feel that they are spouting off information, which is great. You need that. But they haven't turned that information to knowledge. And then they haven't used that knowledge, which means they don't have wisdom from it. And for myself, I believe that my goal, my purpose is to be the teacher's teacher. I'm here to make things plain and simple as possible. Um, so again, if there are any questions, there's something that's not clear, go ahead and write in the comment section. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Hey, all of it can go down below in the comment area. This is not a place for you to go hate in. If you don't like what I'm saying, move on, like scroll past. But if you find the information valuable or you feel like you're learning something, make sure you go to the little button at the top, click subscribe, and then also hit the bell. Ding, ding, ding. And then whenever I do post something, you're able to get notified. You're able to watch the content, apply what they say, eat the meat and spit out the bone, or chew the meat and spit out the fat, whatever the saying may be. You're able to do that for yourself. Take what you need, the rest of it, get rid of it, fry it. I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna be looking down a lot, just because. First off, I got to get real close to this paper, as y'all know. These words, I still can't believe. Look how small this is, y'all. Like, look at the paper. This is supposed to be a whole page. We'll do better next time, maybe. I don't know. So my thing today is to talk to you guys about spirituality. And so the way that I like to teach is I like to start off with definitions and I like to go into etymology, because that way you really know what the truth of the word is and you can kind of go from there. So y'all, first off, I only speak English. Okay, I'm not bilingual, trilingual. I don't know no other languages like that. Like, I do like language. I'm also a language arts teacher. So I love language. I love learning the little nuances of language. But if I pronounce something wrong, don't come at me. I know how y'all girls love to tussle. But for real, don't. Just go research it, like I said before, and do what you do best. Get your own understanding as much as possible. Okay? So, spirituality, when you look it up, the Latin word is spiritus. The English word, going back to it, is spirit. The etymology of the word, which is the original meaning, where it began, where it started off, is spiritual, is breathing, breath, wind, air, or the air of the spirit. I went online, I looked at etymology dictionary, and it states that it started to talk a little bit about the idea that individuals who were spiritual would look at birds and look at nature in order to kind of see how nature worked in order for them to get a spiritual belief, right? A spiritual understanding of um, how spirit could evolve within nature, right? So they watch how things move. They watched animals just to understand the physical motion of the spirit. Spirit first came up in the 13th century, which was to mean the animation or vital principle in man and animal. And then spirituality in the 1700s, it was 1796, means to advocate for a spiritual view. So I'm giving you guys just this backlog so that it'll make sense, and maybe it'll build on what it is that I'm going to talk to you about. All right, so I'm going to be referencing the Holy Bible, particularly King James. And in general, I do this because one, it's one of the top selling books. Over the past 50 years or so, I think they said that they have sold 3.7 billion, so almost 4 billion copies of the Bible, the Holy Bible. Also, Christianity is one of the 12 major religions. And what I've learned through my practice, so my bachelor's is in religion, religion and English, creative writing. I also did the work for literature, chose creative writing because it took me a lot more to get in those classes. All right, so I'm supposed to be on topic. So Christianity is one of the 12 major religions in the world. And what I learned was that it shares a lot of similar scriptures when it comes to Judaism, Islam. Some of the creation stories translate over into all religious aspects or other religions. What they do is you'll see a lot of the names change, but however, the characteristics of the individuals are the same. And that's not a message for today. So just understand, I'm just saying this is why I'm using it. But we will probably talk about that in a later topic. Sorry. So just to give you guys some basic vocabulary before we dive in, two things that I always start off teaching because this is how we teach in language arts. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce it to you. One is explicit. So when we talk about explicit information, is word for word what is stated in the text. So when I look at the Bible, I'm going to read it word for word. So if you don't want to hear the Bible being read, you can move on. It's okay. But if you want to learn something and be challenged and be able to grow through and understand the text, I would suggest that you read it. You don't have to worship nothing. Just read it for yourself. But again, explicit is pretty much with clarity. There's no deviation from it. It is word for word. Like I said, I'm going to use that with the explicit text. The second thing is to make an inference, right? So we also teach this in class. So the inference is what you pull from the text based off of your own understanding. An inference can also meaning we use the explicit information, we use our previous knowledge, we add it together in order for us to infer what the text is trying to say. So it is the almost like the unstated stated information. Almost like, well, I don't want to say almost like reading in between the lines, but it can be a portion of that as well. So that means that I will be, sorry, y'all, follow the extra. That means that I'm going to, again, give you the explicit information for better clarity. We will go through and give you explanations and demonstrations. With the demonstrations on some of the stuff, and of course, this is class 1. So this is going to be from here on out. So I may tell you to do something. You don't have to, but give it a try. And it may bring a little bit more clarity for you. All right, so the first part that I was going to do is going back to spirituality. Remember, I told you that it dealt with spirit, a spiritual breathing, breath, wind, air, and air of the spirit. So I'm going into Genesis because I told you I was going to use the Bible, Genesis 1-3. So it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's verse 1. Verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And verse 3 says, and God said, let there be light. All right. So verse 2, right? It talks about the Spirit of God moving upon the face of the earth. And if he was moving, remember they say the word is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So if he was moving amongst the earth, that means he is still moving amongst the earth, right? He is and was covering the face of the earth. And it says, and he said, let there be light. And so for me, right, I take that as the understanding. God spoke and it was created. His spirit reacted to his word and his breath. So many individuals say that God is spirit, right? He's not the man, he don't have a man form, blah, blah, blah. He's a spirit. So he spoke, his spirit moved based off of his words and his breath. And when you talk, especially when you got bad breath, you know that your breath is coming through with the words that you're saying. Because I know some people be like, well, I could talk without using my breath, blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Thanks. I love you though, but stop it. All right, so the spirit is activated by the breath due to the words that is coming out, or activated by the words due to the breath that is coming out. All right, in Genesis 2:7, it says, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So for me, I was looking at this. I used these 2 parts of Genesis because it's this idea that we all hear that individuals interchange the spirit, the soul, and now bringing into it, I want to make sure you understand how it relates to the breath. So the concepts, they may vary. If you choose to dive into other religious studies, let me bring this in first. Let me go back first. So God spoke, right? His breath went out. It activated the spirit. The spirit was the creative force, the action based off of what was said. Then God also breathed into man, which activated the spirit, right? Which turned man into a moving vessel with a soul. Everybody with me? All right, so this is what I put down. So the ideas were that individuals interchange the spirit, the soul, and we're trying to relate that to we're trying to see how it relates to the breath. So this concept may vary if you choose to divide into other religious studies. So other studies have their own separate variation of the difference between the soul and the spirit. So if you look at, and they have it more so as a philosophy, right? They actually use their literature to go through and to explain the difference. So in Egyptian religion, right, they had the Ba and the Ka, which was the difference between the spirit and the soul. I noticed that Christianity's always tried to, or Christians within Christianity try to say that there's a difference with the soul and the spirit, that man has a body, a soul, and a spirit. And this is something that I noticed was starting to be preached within the early 2000s. There may be a few who may have stated it earlier on, but definitely in the early 2000s, this was something that was really preached heavily. However, I never really see people go into what particular scripture they read in order to solidify that aspect. So they say it, but what happens, I notice, again, based off of my personal studies, and I can be wrong, is that there are a lot of religious leaders who read other scriptures and have other studies, but they do not reference those other documents when they start to teach. And what they do is they just tie it all together. And I think that most religions, if not all religions, I'm going to say it all. I think they all have something to provide to an individual, and that you need to do your own personal research and see what all speaks to you and your spirit and your soul in order to call out the information that is within. And of course, if you know the etymology of education, or to educate, which is educare, meaning to call out. So anytime that you hear that here on out, you understand that you already have the knowledge within you. What you have to do is to activate that knowledge. And you do that by studying and showing yourself approved, which is why they say in the Bible, my people perish for their lack of knowledge. So I digress. I try not to do too much of that, but it happens. Anyway, so what I do notice with Christianity again is that when we start to talk about the spirit, the soul, and the body, it kind of gets tied into, or tied back up when we're trying to talk about the difference between the three aspects, is that they always go back to like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And yes, the three becomes one, and etc. But it really does not, like I said, I have not seen, but I'm also always studying, where it really dives into the difference of spirit and soul like it does in the Egyptian studies with the Ba Nakah. Also, remember I told you that with the spiritual, understanding spirituality and understanding the spiritual side, that it deals with the breathing and the breath and the wind. And so I want you to understand that these things are also prevalent in other religious forms. Let me go back before I get into that. I did put on here that the breath, which is the Spirit of God, was given to man to reside in a vessel, which is the body, which would be your physical being. And with that life, it created a soul, or a spark, which that spark, again, based off of your practice and your understanding and what you have gone through to learn from other studies, because I don't really want to say religions, I like to say studies, from other studies. Each one calls it something different, or like I said, it's a different word, same explanation. So again, let me reread this. The breath, right? God breathed into man. So God took his breath, his spirit, he activated it within man, which is you, the vessel. So you have the spirit within you, and then it united for there to become a soul. And so that is the three parts of man. I'm gonna leave that there, because when we get to teaching later, I'm gonna come back to that three parts of man. Just remember that. But going back into the other studies, right? So remember I told you there's 12 major religions. And within those, I'm not going to list out all of them. You can always research that. Anything that I'm saying, please go research it. I was going to reference a few different books. However, I have books everywhere all over my house at this point. Just take it as that, because I got a lot going on. I'm doing these. I told you I got 3 30-day courses. 3 30-day teachings that I'm going to be giving to you guys. And then also I have my class, and I teach, and I got stuff everywhere. Don't worry. We got this. So there's Taoism, and in Taoism they talk about the breath. They talk about the healing of the breath. You have Hinduism, which talks about yoga. Yoga is I always like Pilates, because Pilates is stretching the body. Yoga is actually very keen on how you breathe, and it's how breathing and stretching, but most importantly, the way that you breathe and deep breathing can actually heal the body as well. So if you're ever looking into moving stagnated energy within your body, breathing is a great way to do that. breathing actually helps you on a lot of stuff, you guys. So I would research breathing techniques, the breath, moving the breath through the body, breath work. All of these things are going to pop up with a lot of different things online. There's so much information that's out there. Like I said, you can't turn that information into knowledge until you start using it, and really trying to get an understanding, which will provide you with more wisdom. Um, then you have a subcategory of Buddhism. So Buddhism is a practice. You can align that with any other religion that you do. They have Tantric Buddhism. Um, do not be afraid of these words. I may go over some Tantric information. If not, I definitely do have a few references for you. So if you're interested, in the comments below, please just let me know that you want information on Tantric, and I will recommend you to tell me tantric books or a tantric teacher. And based off of what you put below, I recommend you to some individuals or some books that are very amazing, life changing, honestly. So the subcategory of Buddhism or Buddhist practice is Tantric Buddhism, and that deals with the breath and breathing. Then you have the Chinese system, which is a rhythmic exercise of breathing. So you have Tai Chi and Qing. I always mess that up. Qigong and Tai Chi. Right. That's how you say it. So you have that as well. Um, Tai Chi, I think, also deals with movement as you're breathing. You'll see a lot of older, I don't want to lie, I've seen a lot of older individuals, but I've seen young people do it too. But Qigong is heavy breathing. It's usually a deeper breath, healing breath. So one side to me, and of course I still need to study. So one side to me is just the moving, the energy systems, the breath within the body, while the other one is moving the physical body along with breathing. But these are just to name a few. Overall, all who breathe. So this is my sub. We sum all of this stuff up because y'all know I let my mind and my mouth get away from me. So let's sum it up so we can end it real nice and sweet at 25 minutes. So overall, all who breathe may be applicable to be a spiritual being, depending on the selectiveness of the practitioners or members of whatever religious background it may be. If you don't understand that in layman's terms, depending on what religious practice you take up, they'll be the ones to tell you whether or not you're really spiritual or not. And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Like, people tell you all the time, like, you ain't really Christian and you ain't really this and you got to do X, Y, and Z in order to be a part of this. But that's on you, whether you believe it. It's what you agree to. The agreements are what you need to be mindful of. But in a nutshell, spirituality is the observation and understanding of the breath of God, which is within man. So now, when you guys hear people say, I'm a spiritual person, right? Or they talk about being a spiritual being, just know that for me, and hopefully for you, because like I told you, based off of the practitioners or the members or whatever you want to call them, the people of whatever set religion that you're trying to be a part of, they will tell you yes and no to their own belief system. But for me personally, when we talk about spirituality, it's not no, devil stuff, devil worshiping, whatever else. It is literally you, the essence of you, who you really are. It is the breath of God that is within you that is causing you to be a spiritual being who I hope you believe, who has a soul, who can then move forward. I'm going to leave that as that right there because, again, this is all based on your belief system. So, again, I am Jamika Anderson. I am here to be your teacher if you would like me to be, because I'm the teacher's teacher. And I love you guys, and we will be back tomorrow.